When the world grows quiet, the lanterns come alive. You are here. I'm really glad you found your way to Lantern Hollow. Life can get noisy sometimes. There are days that leave us feeling tired. Nights when all we really want is a quiet place we can slow down and simply breathe. That is why I curated Lantern Hollow, a quiet little village where every evening ends with a gentle story, where every lantern is lit with awe, and every traveler is always welcome. There are no villains here, no chaos waiting around the corner, just stories about kindness, hope, courage, second chances, and little moments that reminds us we were never quiet as alone as we sometimes feel. So, whether you have come here to relax after a long day, to fall asleep to a peaceful story, or simply rest for a little while, welcome, traveler. I hope Lantern Hollow becomes a place you will always be happy to return to. Now, let me tell you the first story ever shared in this village. It is the story of how the first lantern found its owner. And I should tell you now, there was one evening the first lantern nearly didn't shine at all. So get comfortable, take one slow, gentle breath, and let's begin. Long before weary travelers ever found Lantern Hollow, before the bakery filled the evening air with comforting smell of fresh bread, before Herman's library became a home for stories waiting to find the right reader, before Theo welcomed tired hearts with a warm cup of tea, before Rowan prepared cozy rooms for every traveler, before Clara sorted letters that somehow always found exactly the right person, before Ivy filled the garden of second chances with flowers that bloomed in every season, and even before Ash, the gentle grey cat, quietly found anyone who needed a little comfort. Lantern Hollow was simply a small village resting beneath ancient trees. No one really knew how long the village began. Sometimes, some believed the moon had discovered the valley first. Others liked to think the forest itself had opened its arms. Whatever the truth was, everyone agreed on one thing. Lantern Hollows had always felt like home. Every evening, as the sun slipped behind hills, the village shared one beautiful tradition. One lantern was always lit before all the others. No one knew who had lit it for the very first time. The villagers simply called it the first lantern. It was warm, golden light, rested quiet in the heart of Lantern Hollow. From its flame, every family lit the lantern outside their home before night settled over the village. Some believe it protected Lantern Hollow, some believe it guided lost travelers home, Others believe it was simply a reminder that no one should ever have to walk through the darkness alone. Among these villagers was a young woman named V. She wasn't the strongest, she didn't bake the best bread or grow the prettiest flowers, but if anyone asked in Lantern Olu what they remembered most about her, they would smile. Before saying the very same thing, she always made time for people. If an elderly neighbor struggled to carry their lantern, V was always there. If the evening breeze blew someone's flame out, she would relight it with a quiet smile. If the rain came earlier than expected, she hurried from house to house, making sure every lantern was glowing before she ever thought about her own. And somehow, by the time she finally reached home, her own lantern was often still dark. The villagers noticed. Of course they did. In a place as small as Lantern Hollow, people rarely miss the little things. They notice when someone smiles a little less than usual, when I choose to spend an afternoon beside someone different. And they noticed that we almost always remembered everyone else's lantern before remembering her own. Some would simply smile, that's just we. Others would quietly wonder how someone who cared for everyone else so easily could so easily forget herself. Grandma Helena noticed whenever Fee stopped by after sunset, a warm loaf was already waiting. She would simply hand it over, brush a little flour from her apron, and say with a gentle smile, even the kindest hearts need looking after. V would thank her and promise she would remember. By the following evening, she usually had. Herman noticed too. One afternoon, knowing V would soon borrow a particular book, she tucked a tiny note between its pages. When V found it, she smiled. It simply read, "Don't forget that your light matters too." There was no signature, there didn't need to be. Some kindness speak for itself. Theo never asked whether V wanted tea. He simply poured it. Chamomile, a little honey. Somehow it was always exactly what she needed, even before she knew she needed it. At the inn, Rowan had his own quiet tradition. Whenever we helped prepare rooms for arriving travelers, he never let her leave without saying, "Promise me you will get some rest tonight." She always laughed softly. "I will." Sometimes she meant it, but there always seems to be one person who needed her first. Clara noticed something rather unusual. Many of the thank you letters passing through the post house mentioned the very same person, V. Different stories, the same feeling, gratitude. And whenever the evening finally grew quiet, when there were no more lanterns to relight, we would sit beneath the old oak tree almost every evening. Ash would appear. No one ever knew where he had been. He simply arrived. Sometimes he closed his eyes. Sometimes he simply looked at the star. But he always seems to know exactly when someone needed a little company. Even with all this, we never changed. She never helped because she hoped someone would notice. She simply believed if she could make someone else's evening a little brighter, then it had been a good day. And perhaps that's the wonderful thing about kindness. It doesn't ask for applause, it simply keeps showing up. Then, one evening, something happened that no one in 19 Holo had ever seen before. Everything felt exactly as it always did until the first lantern didn't light. No one spoke. The wind drifted gently through the branches of the ancient oak. Ash slowly lifted his hand. One by one, the villagers stepped forward. Someone struck a match. Another brought a glowing lantern. Each time, a tiny flame appeared, only to quietly fade away. Not with fear, not with anger, just stillness. As though the whole village was waiting for someone no one yet understood. The square remained quiet. No one knew what to do next. They simply stood together, looking at the lantern that always had been there. But V wasn't looking at the first lantern. Near the edge of the square, an elderly neighbor stood holding a lantern that had gone out in the breeze. Without thinking, V walked over. She smiled, shielded the tiny wick with her hand, and gently relit it. Thank you, dear. V simply nodded. It was nothing. To her, it truly was. As she turned to leave, she noticed a little boy staring down at his own lantern. V knelt beside him. Let's try together. This time, the tiny flame caught. His face lit up long before the lantern did. Someone nearby saw what V had done. Without being asked, they used their own lantern to help another family. Then another person did the same thing. No one gave instructions. No one needed to. Kindness had its way of spreading quietly. One light became two. Two became 10. Soon, warm golden lantern began glowing across the village. The bridge streamed with tiny lights. The bakery windows glowed once more. Emma's library welcomed the evening. Theo's tea house looked warmer than ever. Lantern Hollow had become a sea of warm light, not because one lantern had lit them all, or because neighbors had shared what they already had. No one noticed at first. They were too busy helping another. Then, almost too gently to see, a tiny golden light appeared inside the fourth lantern. It wasn't forced, it simply awakened. Slowly, its warm glow grew brighter until its light stretched across the entire village. The square became wonderfully still. Ash quietly stood, his green eyes reflecting the golden light. And somehow, without anyone saying a single word, everyone understood. The first lantern had never been waiting for the strongest person or the smartest or the most important. It had been waiting for the one who never stopped sharing her light, even when she forgot to keep some for herself. That evening, beneath the ancient hall, the villagers asked Vi a simple question. Will you be the keeper of the first lantern? For the very first time all evening, Vi didn't know what to say. She looked around the square at the smiling faces, at us sitting quietly beside her, her eyes filled with happy tears. Not because she had hope for the honor, but because she had never imagined the little things she did every day had meant so much to so many people. She smiled, then gave the smallest nod. I will be honored. From that evening on, every sunset began same way. We would walk quietly into the village square, place one hand upon the cool brass of the first lantern, take a slow breath, and gently light its flame. One by one, its warm glow would spread across Lantern Hollow, past Ella's bakery, into Emma's library, through Theo's tea house, beyond Rora's inn, until every corner of the village shone beneath the stars. And every evening before returning home, we would quietly light one last lantern, our own, because she had finally learned that caring for others also meant caring for herself. And if you ever found yourself wandering into this little village at the end of a long day, you will know you have arrived. When you see one warm lantern glowing in distance, because here in Lantern Hollow, there will always be a light waiting for you. When the world grows quiet, the lantern come alive. Rest well, traveler. The lantern will be waiting whenever you return. Tonight, before you rest, remember to tend your own light with the same kindness you offer everyone.